In and out of all-time highs today, entrepreneur and author Michael Parrish Dudell. We've got business and economics professor Brian Benberg and Sarah Research investment strategist Lindsay Bell to step back and maybe give young people a tip on what they do. Lindsay, if I had a dime for every young person who comes up and says, Neil, I'm now looking at this and I want in. Now, normally in the past, that used to be, well, that's the time to get out. But any time during this juncture, certainly since the president was elected, you've been richly rewarded to stick with this market. What do you tell people now at this stage?
Well, at this stage, I know it's a little bit scary, especially for young people after they've seen the market run this much. And if you go back to 2011, the market's up like 90%.
Right.
And everywhere you turn, everyone's saying it's an expensive market. But I'm here to ease some concerns because I look at a couple economic indicators, housing stats and consumer sentiment. These numbers typically decline 20 to 30% year on year before we head into a market recession. Also, the Treasury yield is typically negative in those time periods. We're nowhere near that now. So I feel good about getting involved in the market, but you got to pick your place of where you want to go because there's certainly some areas that are more expensive than others.
Yeah, and Brian, a lot of thing I tell young people, maybe tell your students as well, is the benefit is they're young. I mean, they've got time to make mistakes. They've got time to ride economic cycles, right?
Yeah, and that's why I'm not so concerned about the timing in terms of, is this a good time to get in? Millennials should be thinking over decades here, and over decades you're going to see market ups and downs, but the important thing is that they get in because the power of compound interest is huge here. The time value of money, over time you can really build up a nest egg. And by the way, if you're millennial, you have to do that because guess what? Unless we do something about Social Security, the full payment's not going to be there for you. It's only going to be a piece of what you're supposed to get. So it's important for millennials to get in the game now and think long term. Don't worry so much about 1 month, 6 months. We're talking about 10, 20, 30 years here.
You know, to me, Michael, long-term a strategy is like lunch tomorrow. But I mean, I understand that there's this skittishness about a lot of investors, particularly young investors, who either saw their parents get burned or remember enough about the housing meltdown, the tech meltdown, to not get sucked into this. What do you tell them when they look through that rearview mirror?
Yeah, look, I have compassion for them. I understand that there is a lot of risk and that they're scared to get involved. But the fact of the matter is, you cannot win the game if you don't play the game. Like Brian said, they have time, compound interest, compound interest. They have to get involved. They have to start. Otherwise, they're going to end up with nothing.
Yeah, you know, Lindsay, another thing that comes up, especially with the market surge of late since the president's election, is this optimism that he's going to get these big tax cuts through. His legislative victories have been few and far between, like zero right now, but it's still early. I understand that. But who's to say that he won't have trouble on getting those tax cuts through, if at all? And do you think that a part of this market run-up, at least the latest wave of it, owes to that happening?
Well, I think you saw a little bit of a pullback earlier in April because of the delay and the gridlock that you're seeing in Washington.
Right.
So, but I think the market still, despite that little bit of a pullback, is giving Trump the benefit of the doubt. They still expect these policies to get enacted and implemented. So this week should be very telling with the health care bill that's going to come into Congress and take a vote. Hopefully, they were able to get the government shutdown to not occur.
Yeah,
today.
Well,
we saw that.
They did that. They showed that they could compromise and work on stuff. That's always in the eye of the beholder. Brian, do you look at this and say, all right, look at what's happening with these technology names. Look at Amazon racing to $1,000, Alphabet doing the same. It might be very justified. It might be very legitimate, but it also might be very frothy. What do you think?
Well, I think investors are trying to figure out where the growth opportunities are. They look at Amazon, Google, Facebook, and they say, we don't know what the upside is here. We don't know what the limit is here because these companies are changing the economy. So in some sense, I think those are okay bets. But I do think markets have gotten a little bit ahead of themselves. We've talked about this before. If you look at the real economy, if you look at GDP, if you look at job creation, if you look at consumer spending, these numbers have not been great. Until you see those numbers start to catch up with stock valuations, the question is the economy getting better, or are investors going to have to pull back because they got ahead of themselves?
Michael, does Washington and what it's up to or not up to ever enter into your thinking or strategy about investing in the market or not?
You know, sometimes I don't really look to that as an indicator. I look to experts. I look to people that are dealing with it every single day and that are really entrenched with it. Look, the first 100 days has been really great under the Trump administration. I will give him that. I am not a huge Trump fan. But the next 100 days, it's all going to be about whether he can deliver on the promises that he's made, whether things that these ideas, these propositions, whether they can materialize and whether they can turn into something. If they can, I think we're going to continue to see an increase. If they can't, well, there might be some confidence lost.
All right, and if any of these fine folks are wrong, we'll replay the tape again and again and again. If they're right, we'll say it was all me. All right, guys, thank you very, very much.